This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.
Welcome to What's News Dunedin, brought to you by DOS Turkish Cafe, the radio show that spawned from the 24,000 plus strong local Otipo Dunedin What's News Dunedin Facebook group. The group that's been put back into social media since 2020 with respectful adult debate and a sense of humour. I'm your host, Richard Knights. On today's show, helps if I got the right piece of paper. I'd looked at this before and I thought, I've got the right piece of paper. No, I haven't. I've got the right piece of paper now. On today's show, we're talking to our wonderful guest, Marja Captijn, trainer, educator and menopause practitioner, who are telling us more about themselves and what they do, as well as helping us look back at the posts that have generated the most interactions over the last 7 days on the What's News Dunedin Facebook group. And those 3 posts this week are urgent doctors versus ED, when to go to where, Opportunity Party polling at 8% and possibly entering Parliament, Facebook reversing their stupid decision to allow nicknames even in groups where anonymous posting was not allowed. Welcome back on the show, Marja.
Thanks for having me again.
So you've been on the show before as a guest with someone else, so this is your first time in the hot seat solo. So you know a little bit about the show. Yep. So we've got our 3 pop questions that we'll get to in a little bit, but they're new pop questions for you because you've been on the show before, so you don't get to bring your last time's answers. You see, so I like to keep it a little bit fresh. But what wouldn't have happened last time you were here was our pun of the week. So we have our pun of the week now. So on a Monday, we have a Pun Day Monday post in the group where we get our people to bring their best dad jokes, best puns. Whichever joke pun gets the most laugh reacts, and it's as simple as that, they get to get on the show on the following Friday, and we get to see whether you find it funny or not. All right, so whether it comes off the page into the spoken word and it's a groaner or hilarious or whatever. So we'll see. So we'll start with that one. So pun of the week, and this is one of our one of our constant winners, Max Reed. He brings his best puns most weeks, and so he's had quite a few jokes read out on the show. This is one of his. So I had an uncle who ran a kebab shop. Someone thought it'd be appropriate to bury his cooking gear with him. Others weren't so sure. Who knows? He's probably turning in his grave.
Okay, I like that one.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
I just get the image of that kebab spit, just rolled him round. So that's a good one. So now, moving on to our 3 pop questions, all right? So because you've been on the show before, we shake it up a little bit and we bring a different question, so you can't bring your pre-prepared answers, right? So I don't know if you swatted up before you got here and tried to remember what you was last time around, but that's okay because it wouldn't have mattered. Brand new questions. So, toilet paper. So when you put your toilet paper on the roll, do you have the paper coming down off the roll closest to you or closest to the wall?
Not close to the wall, to me.
To you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same. It's the only sensible way to do it.
It is. It is.
But you'd be surprised. Like some people.
Well, there are some psychos out there.
There are some crazy folk out there, like my wife included. Like,
oh, really?
I don't think they do it on purpose. I just don't think. I think they don't care enough. Which bothers me a little bit, because you have to care enough, right? Yeah, if you're gonna go to the effort of putting a new toilet roll on,
just don't do it the wrong way.
Do it the right way, right? Yeah. So I'm going to admit to this. I've admitted this before. I will change people's toilet roll in their houses.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I just say, I don't care. Like
wrong.
If you've done it wrong, I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to leave the bathroom and tell them they've done it wrong. I'm just going to gently correct it for them.
Yes.
And then
help to make the world a better place, right?
It's just restoring a little bit of balance.
Yeah, exactly.
In my view. So that's.
I'm so happy to hear that I'm not the only one who's doing that.
No, I'm all the time. It doesn't bother me either. I just don't care where it is. It's work or someone else's house. I'm like, right, no, it's going back on the right way.
Exactly.
I've got time for that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, exactly.
I make time for that.
It's important to make time for the important things.
Exactly.
No, I agree. Now, second question. That was the only question you get wrong on my show.
Okay.
But you can't get that wrong now because you got it right. Your second question is, who is your favourite Spice Girl?
I would say Sporty Spice.
She hasn't had enough support in that question. I only asked this to returning guests because obviously I have a different question for the people who were on the first time round. But normally it's not sporty. So I have to say, but I'm a fan of Sporty.
Yeah.
I
think she's quite cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think anyone that can kick the legs so high, I'm scared of anyway. Like genuinely,
yeah,
male or female. It's like if you do that with your leg, then I'm actually you're a winner. Simple as that for me. Now, third and final question is our thinker. for the week, right? So, would you rather go on a submarine, or a space shuttle? And I'm going to throw the caveat in here because most submarines you can't look out the windows, right? Because they don't have any. I'm going to go. It's a submarine with windows, right? So you've got submarine with windows or space shuttle with windows, so you can wherever you are you can see.
I think I would go with the submarine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason is we have VR goggles and I was putting them on, pretending to be out in space, and I got motion sickness. So I think I would be completely horrific with that. Nah. And I don't think I would do the weightlessness
Don't think
really
you do
well.
that? No. I'd like to see it. I think I'd go space.
Yeah?
Yeah. And it's a tough one for me because I absolutely love animals, wildlife, especially stuff in the sea, right? Fish, dolphins, whales, that kind of stuff. Anything weird and wonderful underneath the ocean, I'm a big fan of. But I just think I could possibly do that. Like I'd go for a swim and see some stuff.
Yeah.
I can't get to space unless I'm in that space shuttle. I'm thinking maybe I'd like to look down on the Earth just to prove to all the flat earthers it's not flat.
Yeah.
And just kind of look and see. That would be something that'd be quite unique. I wouldn't pay lots of money for it. If I'm going to space, someone else is paying for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd go space. But that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your questions, your answer's your answer. So, like, at the end of the day, but I hear what you're saying about the motion sickness. I don't know what I'll be like. I'm pretty good on boats and cars, and I don't tend to get like that. But
same. Even with Les Mills has spin classes when they have a really wide screen and everybody's sitting together spinning. I did it once and I got motion sickness.
Oh wow!
So I was like, nah, that's not for me. I think it would be horrific if I would go into space and then
and then you don't know which way's up, which way's down.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they could both be the same at the same time in space.
Yep.
So, fair enough. Now, let's go back and talk about the topics of the week that have been on the page for the last couple of weeks. And there was a post a week or two ago, just over a week ago, about someone had gone to urgent doctors. They'd had an incident. It was posted anonymously. I posted on behalf of the person, so I'm not going to talk about who it was. But it was a they'd had an incident which they'd ended up in an ambulance had come to take them, but by the time they got to ED was like heaving. They'd obviously had some kind of care in the transport to where they were going, and it was deemed that actually, but now that they weren't obviously scared to death that something bad was going to go on, ED was an option for them. Urgent doctors was an option for them, and they chose to go to urgent doctors. Must have had a community services card or something like that, paid $45, didn't have to wait too long. Urgent doctors looked after them. Garnered a lot of conversation on the page because there was a lot of people coming going, well, that's not our experience. Urgent doctors rammed, jam-packed, lots of money, ED free, jammed, lots of time spent there. And I thought it warranted actually a conversation, on the show with regards to kind of what our health experience actually looks and feels like at the moment, from a local's point of view, but also, when do you go to ED? When do you go to urgent doctors? Have you got any instant thoughts on that or?
Yeah, so in the Netherlands, things work, where I come from, things work actually a little bit different.
Yes, same for me.
But I think the best solution would be to have a GP at ED triaging clients or patients to tell them, look, this is an ED, so go into waiting room A. This is urgent doctors. You will go into waiting room B. That means that you will free up the ED for the true urgent things.
Yep.
And you can get people to urgent doctors with the right care, but they do need to pay.
Yep.
And that is a system that actually works really, really well. Because I've been, unfortunately, at ED myself, and the fact that you don't actually have a triage room with one or two nurses or doctors who would go through the patients and divert them to the right way.
Yep. They do triage you, but there's only to check where you sit in the immediate need for care.
Yeah.
If you turn up at ED, you still get seen at ED regardless whether you've got a cold or whether you're losing pints of blood and death is imminent. So
but it would be great if you had someone sitting there and said, oh, look, this is just a cold or this is a UTI. Here you go. And off you go, instead of waiting in line for the ED people to be seen. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I come from a place where doctors are free, right? So in the UK, like you don't pay to go and see a GP, right?
Yeah.
You still have the same issues with regards to getting an appointment that we have here. Like it's still difficult because it's still underfunded. But actually you don't have to worry about whether your bank balance allows you to be healthy or not. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles that we've got here. One of the reasons that ED is busy is because urgent doctors does cost you money. Whether that be $45 or $100, it's still a cost that if you haven't got any money in your bank account, you can't afford to pay it, right? So if you can't afford to pay it, guess where you go? You end up in ED, right? And that's not. I don't think that's a system that works particularly well for anybody, right? Because it shouldn't be about whether you can afford to be better or not, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me. My doctor's now is $60 to go to the doctors, right? And thankfully I've got health insurance, but that cost me a fortune. But then I get the money back for the doctor's visit because I had to. But I'm paying for that service through through my health insurance, so I'm paying for it somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't have to worry about whether there's money in my bank or not at that point in time. So I can do that. So, but that's a position of privilege, right? I'm coming at it from somewhere that's actually a very privileged position because most of us can't afford health insurance because that's bloody expensive too. But the service that I've always had at urgent doctors, the service that I've always had at ED has been, in my mind, of top quality. That's the one thing I would say. So regardless whether you go to one or the other, you actually end up in a place where they look after you, right? So, but it's just another symptom of how badly funded our health system is.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the hardest part of that for me. Is that like back in the UK, A&E as they call it over there, again you'll sit there forever. It doesn't cost you any money. But doctors, you'd wait up for a point, but at least it doesn't cost you any money. And I feel like we need to have a system that better reflects actually health. Your health shouldn't come at a price.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But generally, if someone's sitting there thinking, like, do I go to ED, do I go to urgent doctors, to me it's...
Money shouldn't be part of your decision.
No, exactly. It shouldn't be part of your decision. It should never be part of your decision. So if you think you've broken your leg and you're going to need then possibly like ED's where you want to go. If you're having chronic chest pains, if you've banged your head and you're bleeding and all that kind of stuff, like the ED's where you go, right?
Yeah.
If you've got a sore throat, if you've got you feel like you've twisted your ankle, but you still put weight on it. Again, maybe you take the decision to go to urgent doctors. I'm not a doctor, right? So I'm not trying for a second to like kind of like triage people here. Go like, well, Richard said I've got a sore throat. I was dying, but Richard said I'd go to the urgent doctors, and I should have gone to ED. Damn him, Exactly. My kids will never forgive him because I'm now dead. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to go down that route because I'm not qualified. Please do not take my. But that's kind of roughly like, do you know what I mean? Where that difference should be. If it was something you would have gone to your doctor for during the day, it's possibly something you should have gone to the urgent doctors for outside of hours.
Yeah.
If it was something you wouldn't never gone to your doctors for because it didn't feel like my doctor's not going to help. There's a pole sticking out of my head or something. ED's your stop, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
No, cool.
But unfortunately, I think what happens right now is that the whole healthcare system is so overwhelmed that it might take 2 to 3 weeks to see a doctor, and
yes.
that's the decision then people take is to either to go to urgent doctors or to go to ED because they can't be seen by their regular GP.
Yeah, and I've had to hit urgent doctors up a couple of times just because I know that by the time I got to my doctor, the thing that was ailing me would have been, I knew it naturally would have passed, but I needed some help right now. I needed some medicine, I needed antibiotics or whatever it might be. I'm saying I'm not a doctor, I'm not trying to prescribe myself medicine, but I knew what I had was something that wouldn't wait 3 weeks to get to a doctor.
Yeah,
but we shouldn't be living like that. Like if we need to see a doctor, we should see a doctor. Doctors are there for emergency care after all, and the fact, and it's all there in the name. Like emergency care means you need it like now, like a day or two. Yeah, totally you can wait, but having to wait 3 weeks to get an appointment because you can't breathe, or it's not what we should be expecting.
No.
And that just comes back to the underfunding. We'll move on to topic 2. I don't know if you follow politics.
I have been living under a rock the last 2 weeks.
That's good. I need to find myself a rock and probably find myself and live underneath it, because I spend too much time thinking about politics, because it's just the nature of running the page and those kind of things. You just can't escape it. But one of the things that's happened in this, as we come towards November the 7th, I think 7th, November the 7th, which is polling day for our next general election, is that Opportunity, which used to be called the Opportunity Party, TOP, and now just called Opportunity, are now polling at numbers that would see them enter Parliament. So we have our MMP system. Is that MMP is not something that you would have in the Netherlands? No, it's not
it's
something
differently.
Yeah, it's not something we had in the UK, right? But actually, I think it's quite a reasonable system of actually giving more sort of proportional representation to Parliament, and actually be more representative of the people that are out there doing the voting, right? Rather than this first past the post, in a constituency, which was always a particular flavoured constituency, and therefore it would always be that particular flavoured constituency. It doesn't matter whether you're red, blue, green, yellow, white, or otherwise. As a party, you never stand a chance of winning, right? So you get this party vote. So based on party vote and candidates and stuff, Opportunity look like they are heading for Parliament for the first time ever. It would be the first time we've had another minority party enter Parliament for a long, long time, which I think is actually a reasonably good thing, right? Because you've currently got the same old, and also the same people doing the same old as well. You've got Winston Peters still there at head of Winston First. I call it Winston First because it's not New Zealand First, it's just all about him. But, if you vote New Zealand First, then you're going to get him again, Do you know anything about Opportunity?
No, you have to talk me through this.
They're pretty centrist. They've said they're pretty centrist.
Okay.
They will have policies that sit very much down the centre. They've got things like tax ideas, tax policies where they will tax like land value, like they have a land value tax. They have a universal basic income as part of their policy, where everyone gets the same, gets a certain amount of money regardless before people start earning.
Yeah.
And so that you'd kind of say those are kind of more left-leaning policies, and then they've got some kind of right-leaning stuff. They are. I've had Dave, who's the candidate for Dunedin, on the show. If you, he's a lovely bloke, really nice. It makes a lot of sense when you're talking to him. So not someone you kind of immediately push away, kind of going, that's you kind of got fringy type stuff. You got, it's not, doesn't make a lot of sense, that kind of stuff. But they don't seem to be liked by either side, which is really weird. Christopher Luxon's already said we wouldn't work with them.
Okay.
All right, which kind of seems a little bit strange because, if they're the only person that can get you into power, I'm pretty sure Christopher Luxon will do anything to keep hold of power. He doesn't seem that kind of person. But having ruled them out, that means that anything, if they do hit Parliament, they're gonna have to side with the left in order to get as part of the coalition, the governing coalition, right? And that's what MMP is about. It's about actually having not just one party ruling the roost. It's actually about a combination of ideas, and people will sort of join together and kind of go, well, if you do this and allow us to kind of push this idea, we'll forget about the other 3 ideas we had, but we'll also, we'll support you in your ideas. And I like that about MMP.
Yeah.
And then I quite like some of the stuff that Opportunity have said. I actually hosted an online Facebook Live for them as the questionnaire, there's a question master for Q, who's the leader of the party. Again, lovely person, speaks very eloquently, reminds me a lot of sort of people like Chloe Swarbrick and stuff, in the sense that they've just got a nice way about them, and they're very endearing.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of politicians to me are like, I can't imagine sitting down and talking for 5 minutes with David Seymour, for example, because it would just make me want to scream, and Winston Peters the same. But that's my personal thing. But it seems like the left say that they're a right party, the right say that they're a left party. Kind of leaves them smack back in the middle. But it's like it will be interesting to see whether they become the new kingmaker, because we always talk about Winston as being the kingmaker, because depending how he flip-flops, depending who's stroking his ego the most, will depend whether he sides with Labour, which he has done before, and and ridiculed the right, and then he slipped over and then they'll never work with Labour. You did, mate. But that kind of stuff. Do you have any thoughts on that? You may not. Like as I said to you at the beginning of the show, you don't have to actually answer any questions here. But
well, again, if I compare that to the Netherlands, where we don't have a big left or a big right, it's always about coalition. So you end up with a government who is a little bit more left or a little bit more right, generally around the centre. So I think if you can work together in a positive way, that's always a good thing. So you don't end up with a government that's too much on either side. If that means that you can cater for a bigger majority of the people, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, I see. I'm whilst I'm left leaning, and I know I am left leaning, and I'm probably far more like left of Labour, probably sitting in the Greens Party, kind of left leaning. I don't see. I see there perhaps like opportunities influence actually being wouldn't be. There's a lot of common ground. They're out there very much about the environment, and they've got some reasonably, maybe not strong tax policies. Maybe not strong is the right word. But they've got some tax policies that definitely require some consideration, and maybe tweaked would be more acceptable, palatable to the masses. With that other influence from those other parties, and certainly I can see Green and them coming to some quite interesting tax policies between them. There seems to be a sense. So we'll see. But the thing that upsets Labour is that they wouldn't rule out working with National. Like Labour want kind of that whole, they want the left side to themselves. And again, I just kind of feel like that's just a little bit kind of myopic. It's kind of very narrow-minded in the sense that actually MMP's not about that. And I know they were the only party that's ever had MMP all to themselves, in the sense that they're the only time they've had actually a proper majority. But even then, that's not really what MMP is about. It's actually about reaching across the desk and kind of going, hey, what can we do together?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And crazy people have spoken about a Labour national supermajority. Like, again, it's one of those things that they both rule it out, but actually you're not that far either side of the centre yourselves to actually kind of go, it shouldn't be an immediate no.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're the other side. And I think that's the problem. We've got no adversarial politics now these days, and we're not actually looking at it from a sense point of view. We're looking at it from a like me and them kind of point of view, and that makes life more tricky. Yeah, because you narrow down your options. What would be wrong with like having a coalition of Labour and National? I don't. People listen to this and we go, he's mad. He's off his head. But yeah, they're not that far apart. But we'll see. Anyway, third and final topic of the week. Again, something you may or not be aware of, like Facebook groups. I've been running a Facebook group now for 6 years. The other day, and it wasn't that long ago, Facebook decided that you could have anonymous posting. But it was something you could turn off or on in a group, right? So you could decide whether you could post anonymously, and if you posted anonymously, no one knew who you were. The admin of the group, the moderators of the group, could still see the person behind that, so that you couldn't hide behind it. Yeah. But anyone else who's using the group could not see who was making the comment. So I always saw that as a great way to be more nasty, to troll more, to be horrible to people, and because you're now hiding. It's already anonymous enough in Facebook land because you can still have a profile that's not really you. Yeah. You can still have your own. Your profile name doesn't have to be your name. It could be, whatever you want, right? And you don't have to put your own picture up. You can put something else up. So again, that's already anonymous enough, right? But if you're going to comment, I always felt you should comment with your profile. Yeah. So it was great. I could turn off anonymous posting in What's News Dunedin. Fantastic. And then in its wisdom, Facebook came along and said, well, we'll still let you keep anonymous posting, but we're going to allow nicknames instead, which is basically the same as anonymous posting, but you can't turn that off. Oh. So we had the situation where even though I've turned anonymous posting off, you could still come in and change your nickname to something just completely random. Again, I could still see who that was, but no one else could see. And you could post again anonymously. And there was no option to kind of go, I still don't want to do anonymous posting.
Yeah.
All right. So I had anonymous posting turned off, but I'm still fighting people with nicknames. So I set up a group rule. Basically said, we're not doing nicknames. Don't use nicknames. You get a nickname, I'll take your post. I'll take your comment down. Don't care what it says. I don't care whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. It's still coming out because it's anonymous, right? Finally found out yesterday, day before, and also last week sometime, that it actually was that they've now brought an option you can turn nicknames off.
Oh, so they do.
So then now you can. It's a new thing, right?
Okay.
So they did this thing where they went, we can use nicknames regardless. Now they've gone, you can turn those nicknames off. So now my group is back to how I wanted it to be, in the sense that you own your words. And I think that's so important in social media, that you own your words.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I hang my hat on. Like there's nothing I've said on social media in however many years. I don't know when it was, like 2007, maybe 20 years. I've been on social media for 20. That feels painful. I feel very old now. But in 20 years, I honestly can sort of sit there and go, I don't think there's anything I regret saying on social media, because I've always been very careful about what I said, because I've always made sure that I don't say anything that I don't stand by.
Yep.
So, and I've also never attacked people just for the sake of attack. But I believe that you own your words, right? If you're not willing to say it under your own name,
yes,
you probably shouldn't say it.
If you wouldn't say that to the person in real life, you shouldn't post it.
No, exactly. I'm a firm believer in that. If I thought that what I was going to say was going to get me a punch in the face if I said it to you in person, I wouldn't do it. I don't tend to have those thoughts anyway, but that's how I look at it. It was like, would this get me a punch in the face if I said it to the person directly? And if I thought for a second that it would, I wouldn't say it, because I owe you as much respect online as I do. There's, again, like sitting here across the desk, if you could jump across the desk and strangle me because I said something to offend you, I shouldn't use a screen to protect me from that and just say it anyway, because if you do find me, you still might strangle me.
Yep.
Yeah. You're the same opinion?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. I have been in multiple Facebook groups, and it is so easy to have a nasty comment, but you never know what's going on in people's life.
Agreed.
So you can't just judge and be a warrior without owning your words. People deserve respect, whether that's in real person or online. Even more online, I would say.
I'd agree, and that's the other side of it, is you don't know what someone's going through. So if someone said something that you actually that you have taken to heart, because you don't know what they're going through. So sometimes to attack them immediately because of what they've is the wrong response, you know. And again, by being able to do that anonymously gives you more power to feel like you can attack them. And I don't think that's appropriate. It's not often I approve of something that Facebook does, because most of the time they drive me nuts. Yeah. But giving us back the ability to kind of go, no, you're not allowed to use your nicknames, is actually I'm thankful for, because I probably spent more time adminning that, and it wasn't anything that broke the rules of the group, if that makes sense. I never even read the comments. Right, most of the comments would have been completely inane, bland, nothing to actually break a rule of being nasty at someone or not factual. It was none of that. It was just the fact that it was anonymous, and it would have allowed other anonymity. God, that's not easy to say. To spawn from that as well, because people using, if someone sees you anonymous, they come back with anonymous, because if you don't want to tell people who you are, well, I'm not going to tell you who I am. You know what I'm saying? It's almost becomes reciprocal. So, yeah, interesting. But I'm glad it's changed. Thank you, Facebook. Probably the only time I'm ever going to say it. So good job it's recorded for posterity for the whole world. You go on Spotify and YouTube, and the world is going to know that Richard Knights was once thankful for something that Facebook did, and that's right now, right here, right now. Now, I'm going to talk about you. I'm going to talk about the stuff that you do, but before we do, I'm going to get a quick word from our wonderful sponsor.
Dost Turkish Cafe serves authentic Turkish and Middle Eastern food made with love, right in the heart of the city. Kebabs, shawarma, loaded fries and more, all made fresh to order using quality ingredients. Their family recipe falafel is a favourite, and they're the only place in Dunedin serving their popular cheesy baked potatoes loaded with your choice of fillings. Generous portions keep people coming back for more. Dost Turkish Cafe, just up from the Octagon at 15 Princess Street. Dine-in, takeaway and delivery.
Are you familiar with Dost?
Yep, they're good.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they're really good.
Lovely people too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go past a good kebab.
It smells so nice.
I know. Yeah. I have to walk past every time I come here. And it's just because it's literally just
around the corner.
Literally two doors down the road. But it's good food cooked with love is that's my happy place.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So keep doing that wonderful food stuff. It makes me very hungry, especially around lunchtime when I talk about stuff like that. Now, you've been on the show before,
Yes.
but you're on your show on your own this time around. So you get to hog the mic, which is great. You don't have to share that with that Karen before it came in. We love your work, Karen. It's not that we don't, but Maya's getting her own show for today. Now, when I introduced you as trainer, educator, and menopause practitioner.
Yep.
Perhaps give us the 5 minutes cliff notes of what that means to you, so that people understand what it might mean to them.
As a trainer, I train human beings, not just human body, all ages, genders, make them feel better and healthier. As a menopause practitioner, it's mainly women's health, educating about mainly perimenopause and menopause. I think that's the biggest thing that I'm doing. I do lots of other stuff, but those are the two main things.
I
got a third gig as well. I am the personal trainer manager at Les Mills.
Right.
But I like to say that I pretend to manage and they pretend to listen. We got to an understanding, so we're good.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So I haven't seen the inside of a gym for a long, long time, as you can probably tell by looking at me. But
you should come, and I can train you. That'll be fun.
This fun for you, maybe.
Yeah. I'm not talking about your fun.
No, exactly. No, that's the thing. I used to go all the time. I find that I don't enjoy it.
Oh, what don't you enjoy?
Exercise.
Just full stop.
Yeah, just full stop. Like I think I was designed to be a couch potato. I think, but I said it kind of half tongue in cheek because I do a lot of walking. Right, my job takes me out and about. I do a lot, so I'm not what you'd call someone that just sits on his backside and does that. I'm walking out. I'm knocking on doors. I'm walking. I can walk 10, 20, 30 kilometres a week. Right?
So that's exercise.
Which is exercise, but I just pretend that it's not. Okay, so we went on holiday to Sydney in July, and we were there 10 days. We walked 90 kilometres. Right, so I'm clearly not averse to getting off my backside and doing stuff, but I used to go to the gym, and I used to do like 6 days a week. When I was at university, we'd go 6 days a week. Me and my mates turn up. Like, my body never changed. I never got big muscles. And I was probably doing it all wrong, right? But I was 18, 19, 20. Like, didn't care. So I've never been unphysical, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But at the same time, I've never been physical either. You know, I used to play sport. I used to go and do jiu-jitsu. I used to play football. And then I started getting hurt. And I guess that when I started getting hurt is probably when I stopped going to the gym, because I was kind of it's the situation where I was like, I can't be in pain doing my job that I'm doing, or losing time to my job. I can either give up my job, that didn't really work, I need to pay the bills, or I need to go up doing the exercise, you know? So I kind of stopped doing the exercise, and I've never kind of come back to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's a name for it. You know that?
Laziness.
No, it's the NHNT syndrome.
NHNT syndrome. I always knew I had a condition. I just didn't know.
There you go.
I just didn't know it was this one.
Explain
that one to me.
It's a niggle here, niggle there.
I like it.
And what happens when we start to age, like you said, when you're young, you can get away with everything, and then things start to niggle. And instead of addressing that issue, which means that probably you have to train or recover or fuel yourself differently, people start to modify their exercise. So an example that I used to do is someone who was really active in high school, was doing netball, did everything, then a knee started to hurt. So instead of playing center, they were wing defense. Knee was still a little bit niggly, so started to run. So stepped away from those three-dimensional movements, started to run, which is just running ahead. Knee started to hurt, so stopped running, started a walking group. And then from a walking group that was going too fast, started to just walk on their own. So that's going through life, let's say 20s, 30s, 40s. Now they're in their 50s, they're just walking. Then decide that walking is quite intense. Hips are getting a little bit sore. maybe getting osteoarthritis, so stepping back again, doing less, then decide, well, actually, I need to walk up the hill every time, but I can get my groceries, but I can actually let them be delivered at home. So then they do less walking. They might be scared to go down onto the floor because they can't get up. I have clients in their 60s or 70s that are really afraid to go down because they can't get off the floor themselves anymore.
I'm afraid to sneeze.
Oh, there you go. You need to exercise. So it's not and my job is to make it kind of fun. We trainers tend to stay in the type 2 fun, which is not really fun while doing it, but you feel great after and you can feel the benefits.
Yep.
Type 1 fun is fun for everyone. And while doing it and after, type 3 fun is not fun during, not fun after, and not fun thinking of it.
Right.
So,
number 3 fun doesn't sound like my fun at all.
No, so we kind of steer away from that. Generally, we move in the type 2 fun space.
Right.
Yeah.
I should probably qualify the I'm afraid to sneeze kind of comment, because I've had some fairly serious back injuries in the past, and it's one of those ones where I think if I sneeze and I'm not braced, then I might I might push my back or something in a way that I don't want to go back to that pain, and I'm waiting for MRIs and God knows what else, but I'm not in the sense of like in pain or anything. It's just this is one of those ones where you just kind of go, I'm just frightened to do something where I'm going to hurt myself or I'm going to leave myself in prolonged pain. And that's, I find, something that I do with exercise, is that if I do exercise, when I talk about exercise, I talk about gardening or something like that, and it's movement that I'm not familiar with, that I can suddenly be in a situation where I've actually like incapacitated myself through no other reason than actually pulling up a few weeds or those kind of things. And that to me feels wrong.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be like that at 54 years of age.
No.
I should be able to do that kind of stuff, which is why I'm getting investigated and stuff like that. But it's like,
You should be able to do things without thinking.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And sneeze being one of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about some more of the stuff that you do. And it's quite interesting that knowing that you were coming on the show today and knowing that you are already and introducing you as a menopause practitioner, that I walked past the Regent Theatre on the way here, and then it said one of the signs that flashed up was Menopause the Musical, which is coming to Dunedin on the 31st of March I'm assuming next year, because the 31st of March is gone for this year, unless they just haven't taken the poster down. It was an electronic poster, so I'm assuming they had. Menopause is I don't remember talking about menopause or other people talking about menopause 20 years ago, right? So, and I don't think my wife will be particularly angry at me of saying that she's at that age now where perimenopause is very much a thing that they have to deal with, and I genuinely feel for women, because you seem to get the brunt end of all the things that you probably that probably should have been shared around a little bit more. Like if you were going to have menopause, men should have given birth, right? Like do you know what I mean? It's like, even out a little bit. The only thing we need to worry about is occasionally we might have to have a vasectomy. And blokes go, that's all. No. Give birth to a baby, and then come back and tell me that's the worst you've ever experienced, right? But maybe I'm digressing. Maybe talk to me about that, because that whilst it's easy for this to interest me as being someone that doesn't have to go through it, right? So I'm like, it's like, let's dig into that, because I'm never gonna have to worry about whether how bad, when you say how bad it is, how much I'm gonna have to deal with, right? But I think it's important for people to hear.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
and it makes sense. But I think, again, just like everything else here in the health, we do this whole perimenopause thing wrong. We don't wait for our daughters to have their first period and then smack a pad on the table and say, oh yeah, by the way, this is periods. And we don't wait for pregnant women to give birth and say, oh, by the way, that's contractions and that's where the baby is coming from. But when it comes to perimenopause, that can be quite debilitating. We don't do anything and we just wait until women suffer enough, basically, to start seek help and then hope that they can find the right support. So in my ideal world, we would gather women in their 30s and collect evidence, say, look, how were your pregnancies? Do you have hormone-induced migraines? Do you have endometriosis? How did your mom go through perimenopause? and then make a risk profile and say, well, within now and 10 years, this is what might be happening to you. Let's make a plan. And things might turn to custard, just like giving birth, but at least you have an idea where you can find help and what we can do with hormone therapy, with exercise, lifestyle, with supplementation to get that support. And when you talk a little bit about perimenopause, so it is thought that a third of the women will start to get their first symptoms in their late 30s,
Right.
a third in their early 40s, and a third in their late 40s. So it's not something that women wake up when they're gray and in their 60s. It can start, and it's quite common to start earlier in their late 30s.
Yep. So for the ignorant out there, and I'll include
Yep.
myself in this, please explain the difference between perimenopause and menopause.
So menopause is 1 year after your last period. That is 1 day in your life.
Yep.
That's something that we see in it. That's 1 day,
Yep.
and the period from a stable hormonal level or the normal hormonal shifts to that menopause is called perimenopause. That's when your estrogen and progesterone starts to drop or go haywire. That is a transition until you have the day after your last period, a year after your last period. That's menopause. Everything after that is postmenopausal. So
Right.
generally speaking, women go from premenopausal, perimenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal, and you are postmenopausal for the rest of your life.
Right.
But those terms, menopause and postmenopause, are used interchangeably. Yeah.
And as men, we just get like before puberty, after puberty, and that's all done.
Yep.
That's it.
Now you get symptoms too.
Do we get menopause?
You get andropause is one of them, but what I see in my perimenopausal women is that the partners, generally men, suddenly start to breathe the wrong way or chew the wrong way, sleep the wrong way. The way they put their plate on top of the sink instead of inside the dishwasher can initiate fury in the women. So partners walking in through the door thinking, oh my God, I don't know who I'm going to meet when I'm at home. And women don't know what's happening to them. They just feel this rage coming through.
Right.
And then looking back, they can't realize why that happened, but that's all due to their hormones. Yeah.
So what do they call it when the man gets angry because the wife didn't put stuff in the dishwasher? Because that's what happens in my house.
That's a myth.
That's a myth.
Yeah.
They just call that fake news.
Exactly,
Fake news.
that's fake news. That's never happening. Absolutely not.
Stop talking rubbish, Rich. That doesn't even exist.
No.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. I'm just taking. So basically, what you're saying is that there's the symptom of perimenopause in men can often be bruising and a look of fear. Is basically is what can happen. Yeah. But I guess that so. And again, like I'm talking from a space of ignorance, and I apologise that. But I'm doing this. Hopefully, people can understand what goes on. When you get to menopause, which is the year after the last period,
yeah.
Does it all get better from that point forward, or does it just change into being something that's different? But because women, like genuinely, I feel like women have just got a hard run of all of that kind of stuff from the hormone point of view, anyway.
Yeah. When you go through your regular cycles, your hormones shift. But if you have a regular cycle, it is a regular pattern. When you go into perimenopause, it is hormonal chaos. So right. I prescribe it I tell my ladies that it's basically a hormonal shit storm that you're in. And hormone therapy gives you an umbrella to deal with it. Right. When you basically run out of eggs, your hormones will flatline. And they flatline for the rest of your life. So estrogen and progesterone are low, and your brain hormones, FSH and LH, stay high. Your brain likes that a lot better. For the majority of the women, that is a stable state, and that feels a lot better. And the last time that they were this stable from an hormonal point of view was when they were still in primary school, before they had puberty. So... but women can still have issues due to the low hormones. So we are more likely to get diabetes type 2, osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease, We can have problems with our joints, with our muscles. We are more inflammatory responses to different things. We even can have something that is called the genitourinary syndrome of the menopause, GSM. So that has something to do with the vulva-vagina area. So from a hormonal point of view, yes, women can feel better, but we are more at risk of getting certain diseases. So we need to look after our health even more.
Right.
And some women can keep having hot flushes even after the menopause, so when the hormone levels are still quite flatlined.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got more questions for you. Before we do, let's just have another quick word from our wonderful sponsor.
Dost Turkish Cafe serves authentic Turkish and Middle Eastern food made with love right in the heart of the city. Kebabs, shawarma, loaded fries and more, all made fresh to order using quality ingredients. Their family recipe falafel is a favourite, and they're the only place in Dunedin serving their popular cheesy baked potatoes loaded with your choice of fillings. Generous portions keep people coming back for more. Dost Turkish Cafe, just up from the Octagon at 15 Princess Street. Dine-in, takeaway and delivery.
So, again, I can't talk from personal experience here because I happen to be not female and don't have I only suffer the menopause indirectly. But there are some procedures that will stop women having periods, full stop, but that doesn't necessarily stop perimenopause. Would I be right in saying that? Like if you had a hysterectomy, for example, you can't. You at that point you're not having periods.
If you have a hysterectomy, so they just take your uterus out,
Yep.
your hormones will still go up and down,
So
but you just don't have the bleed to
Yep.
come to it.
Right.
And they are more likely to get into an earlier perimenopause and menopause.
Right.
If you have a total hysterectomy, so they take the ovaries out as well,
Right.
you will just wake up the next day being postmenopausal, but
Okay.
it's like being dumped into it. So it comes with a huge amount of symptoms.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, it's like there's a huge amount that goes on. So because of that, and this is the bit that confuses me, and I totally get what you were saying at the very beginning, early when you started that we don't just sit people down after they're about, just as they're about to have the baby and go, I need to explain to you what's going to happen, and you don't do that when as your teenagers, as your kids grow up into sort of like into the pubescent period.
Yeah.
You don't just kind of go like when they get their first period, oh that thing, yeah, we need to talk about that now. But why don't we talk about? I mean, this has obviously been going on forever, and will go on forever again beyond this conversation and into infinity. Why aren't we? Why is there? Is it simply because there's too many men in medicine? I mean, I know it sounds. I don't want to make it sexist, but it's stuff that doesn't affect those people directly. So there's no one kind of sitting there going, "This is something we need to deal with." Or is it something different?
Well, I think, the history definitely has something to do with it. For a long time, when men get sick, they were treated. When women got sick, it was because it was their own fault, because they would behave in a certain way. There was a Dr. Isaac Brown in the Victorian Times in London, and he really dove into women's health, and he said, I know why women have epilepsy or even MS, although it wasn't really named or recognized. And he said it's because women are masturbating. So why don't we do a clitoridectomy on those women to prevent them to end up in prostitution? And it was a huge success. So for a long time, especially upper middle class families would send their daughters to this Dr. Brown to get a clitoridectomy to prevent them to be a prostitute, basically. And that would cure everything: endometriosis, infertility, like I said, MS, epilepsy. And it turned out that wasn't the case. But then we're talking about 1800 something. So from a long time, women's health has been ignored. A lot of people in the past didn't really help. Think about Freud, for instance. It was high blood pressure in men, it's stress in women. So we do need to fight for ourselves.
We do need to acknowledge man flu, though. I think, because
that's a serious one.
That's just
I give you that one.
That's about as serious as it gets, for men.
Yeah.
Genuinely, man flu.
It is the worst thing.
It is. It's like no other flu that anyone has ever had.
Yeah.
Like, it's the worst. And I don't know what women are complaining about. Like, genuinely, I'm joking. Please do not. Please do not come and attack me. But there's a lot of that though, isn't it? It's like you say, like, men have got high blood pressure, women are just,
Yeah. And then you add up that medication has been tested on men, not on women, and even medication specifically made for women was tested on men. Blood results that we are having right now is made for the male body, not for the female body. So there is a lot of things, and it's just not medicine, but we women live in a world that is made and designed for and by men.
And it's wrong.
Yep.
That I will say seriously that is so wrong because there will genuinely not be a man out there, I would hope, that is in a relationship with a woman, and I've got nothing wrong with women, men, but I'm just talking like in that particular, that man would not say, I want the best experience for my partner, my wife, through perimenopause to menopause, and they would genuinely men would all want that person to be looked after, catered for early on. None of us want to see our loved ones, regardless. Yeah. And again, we'll go to mixed relationships, whatever. Like men, women, whatever. We don't want to see our loved ones going through the trauma of something like perimenopause, right? So it still doesn't make any sense to me that we haven't addressed that in the way that you said, because what you said makes total sense. Can I vote for you to be Prime Minister November the 7th, and we can perhaps push it, because there needs to be a shift change in my mind, because we've got the science. And I'm a firm believer. You've got the science. You act on the science, right? You've explained it, that we were doing things that were male orientated, and then if we don't do that, and we do whatever the thing that that going forward, we can actually address a situation that benefits billions. We're not talking millions here. We're talking about billions, right? 8 billion people on the planet. 4 billion of those, roughly, are women that will require. Will have no choice but to go through this process, either in a lesser way or a bigger way, depending on who they are.
Yeah, well, Gen X is the first generation actually who started to talk about it openly. And
I'm Gen X.
Same.
Yes. Yeah.
We rock.
So cool.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. I hear you. Yep. Yeah. No argument from me now. Yeah. I had to think for a second. Am I Gen X? That's me.
Yeah,
that's
we
me.
are.
Good.
The cool generation. Yeah.
Totally.
So hopefully by us pushing and talking about it, it makes the world a better place for the generation coming after us.
Yeah. So where's your voice right now? Like, are there others like you? I don't again have a lot of insight into women's health because of the fact I'm not connected to it. But I don't think I've ever met anyone that speaks about the stuff that you speak about. So are there other people out there trying to push this? And how do we get it more out in the world so that people like me with big mouths and that want to talk about it can actually understand it and advocate for a better way of doing things?
There are doctors, there are nurses. I did my nursing postgrad through the Dutch education system because the nurses that the Netherlands have don't exist here. So it wasn't just about menopause. It was also about psychiatry, grief, loss, pelvic floor, cancer, hormone therapy, thyroid issues, diabetes, because everything is connected to everything. And I talk. I love to present. I have been doing some talks for different organizations, for bigger and smaller groups. So anyone who is keen to listen, I am happy to give a chat. And the reason why I am really passionate to push this is because I ended up being suicidal due to perimenopause. And I had a Mirena and I had no idea where my periods were. And I was suicidal before I had my first hot flash. So once I came out of it on the other side and I had the help that I needed, I was like, well, if me with a nursing postgrad in obstetrics and gynecology was unaware of this, what about all these other women who were living through this.
They can't be expected to know just automatically, can you? It's not an instinctive thing, is it?
No. And again, I didn't identify myself at that menopausal stage because I had that grey-haired, let's say, 60 or 70-year-old with a fan in my head. It's like, oh yeah, that's what menopause is. I'm way too young. But thinking back, I had my symptoms when I was in my late 30s. I just didn't know. I just was fluttering along and until the point when I actually literally couldn't live like that anymore. Yeah. And that makes me really driven to listen to other women and make sure that they can get the care that they need and won't take the step that I luckily didn't take. But I have heard other people whose partner did take that step.
That's mad. And that's unfortunately where we have to stop the show. But I get the feeling I could talk to you all afternoon. So, but thank you very much for coming on. I'm sure we'll have you back on the show again. If you just want to sit there while I just round out the show, thank you very much, Marja.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's a wrap for this week. Thank you for tuning in. I've been Richard Knights, and you've all been wonderful. Remember, if you're looking for a robust, respectful adult debate about all things local and further afield, and a welcoming online community that doesn't take itself too seriously, come and find What's News Dunedin on Facebook and join our fun. On next week's show, we'll be talking to Charlie Unwin, director of the Dunedin Arts Festival, and look forward to seeing you next Friday at 12 on OAR FM. And if you want to listen to the show again, or simply share it with your friends, you can find the podcast at oar.org.nz or even on Spotify, YouTube, or your favourite podcast provider.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.